You should have, everybody here should have gotten two pieces of information. This is the most current surveillance report data with regard to lead in the state. And you'll see there's specific information with regard to Claremont in it. If you don't have one of these and you would like one, please let me know and I'll get it to you. And it is available online. If people would like to view it online, it is available. Excuse me? Yes, I'll get to that. Lead is still a critical issue for this community from a public health perspective. We were notified this morning from the state that we have yet another child who has been poisoned by lead in our city. So that's not good news, and all the more reason why we need to continue moving down the road that we are to ensure that we have a community-wide effort to eradicate lead from our community. We have renovate, repair, and paint certification class on July 7th. And that's important for anybody who is going to be who is in the construction business, renovation business, if they would like to get their RRP certification, which is required by law if you are working with lead-based paint. It's going to be at the community center, I believe, on July 7th. And then Gail Gettins, who was the one that presented to us originally about lead and the importance of dealing with lead in our environment, she is going to be presenting training on July 19th. We're estimating this time at about 5:30 p.m. The focus of that is it's open to the community. We will be serving dinner. I don't know what that will be yet, but we will be serving dinner. And it'll be about an hour and a half presentation, so we anticipate that the full training will be from 5:30 to 7:30 with dinner included. But we are hoping to get as many of the medical community in attendance as possible, as well as those who operate child care centers, so they can talk to those families. And again, it is open to the community, so if there's anybody in the community who wants to learn more about this, you're very much welcome to that training. We continue to increase the number of stakeholders in the community who are involved in this initiative. And the newest people that are working on this are Healthy Vibrant Claremont and the Healthy Homes Committee at the regional level here in Newport. And there's two dates I'd like you to save, and that is October 24th, which is the Healthy Homes Conference in Concord. The state asked us, Claremont, to put together a panel to be available at that conference to answer people's questions, because from the state's perspective, we are the community leading the state in this initiative. So the panelists will be myself, Chair Rapp, City Manager McNutt, Superintendent McGoodwin, Peter Wright, because he'll be representing the hospital, and Keith Tebow, because he will represent Southwestern Community Services, who does a lot of screening of Medicaid-type people. So that's that. And the other date is, I've just been asked and haven't had a chance to confer with the leadership here, but we also have a New England Lead Conference on November 1st, and we have been asked if the same panelists are available to also present there as well. So that, I believe all 6 of the New England states are represented at that conference. And the last item I have is, if you haven't read the papers, the City Council did pass a budget on June 14th, and it does have a 17-cent increase on the tax rate. And that's all I have.
I have a question about the lead reporting.
Yes.
Do we know if this most recent case was due to the increased screening? Or
We
the
don't know
attention?
yet.
We don't? Okay.
We don't know yet. Those are questions I'll be asking. One, I'd like to find out how they found out, which would be good. And, oh, the other thing we have to talk about tonight, don't let me forget when we get down to the end, or we can talk about it now, but our next meeting will be in September, so I need to know from the school, district, and board how we can facilitate, assist you in the screening process. I don't know how you anticipate setting that up prior to school beginning, because, and the reason why I'm asking that is there are some organizations that are very much interested in perhaps purchasing another lead test unit to provide to the school, if that helps you with your process, whatever process you're developing in your screening.
I believe the initial discussion was during the kindergarten screening. The evaluations will happen early September, during the first.
During the period right after the school year starts. Kindergarten isn't starting until the following Monday after the students arrive. Am I correct, Corey?
Yes, the kindergarten screening starts the Tuesday after Labor Day. School starts for all students in grades 1 through 12 on the Tuesday after Labor Day, but kindergarten screenings start that day, and the kindergarten students don't actually start the full day until the following week. I can speak from the lens of an incoming kindergarten parent, and when I registered my child for kindergarten, I had to submit my immunization records, and for some reason on my immunization records, the lead screening wasn't listed. So I got a lovely note back from one of our schools saying, you know, your child needs to be screened for lead. Called my pediatrician and learned that it just wasn't included for whatever reason on that record, so they were able to send it
It's working.
separately. I think there's some, I think there are some hiccups that we're going to have to overcome through this process. I think there are some folks who, you know, perhaps the older child was screened, found to be lead-free, nothing in the environment had changed, and so the doctor recommended that the younger child not be screened, so we need to be able to maneuver through those scenarios. Or those folks who don't have the screening done, or have not had the screening done, what is our process to assist them specifically if they're not coming in with that documentation in hand that they have either had it done or they have a note from a doctor saying that another child in the home was free, or whatever that might be. So there's some things to work out in the implementation of this particular policy.
So when you map out that implementation process, if there are any resources that you may need to help facilitate that, if you let us know, because there are many organizations who are very much wanting to be part of this process to help get us to our goal of 100% screening, and they're willing to provide some financial resources, purchase some equipment, whatever we may need. So just if you could let us know, that would be great.
Thank you.
And that's it. That's all I have for announcements.
Perfect. So we'll move on to citizens' comments.
Stand here?
Up to the lectern, please.
Okay.
If you could just let us know your name and ward. And
Absolutely. My name is Jason Benware. I don't even know what ward I live in. I live on Spruce Ave, right down in the middle of town. My kids are in the Bluff District. I've lived here 17 years. My wife and I have owned the same house for 17 years. We've seen a lot of things happen in this town, not all of them positive. I just wanted to make a couple of points. I had 2 points I wanted to make, and then I heard the lead testing thing, and 3 points all of a sudden came up. I think what you're doing, the initiative on lead, is very good. However, I think that the policy that you wrote, specifically the last paragraph in that policy, is very poorly written. It said it was read 3 times on the thing. I see the dates on the bottom of it, read this date, that date, and the next date. But it appears to me that the school board members didn't read it very well. It says something, and I'm going to paraphrase because I didn't memorize it, but I found it troubling. It said, based upon the crime rates, drug use rates, and level of mental health, which was written poorly anyway because mental health is a good thing. Mental health issues are a bad thing, right? If you have mental health, you're actually good, right? Anyway, it's evident that not enough lead testing was done or lead screening has been done in this town. That's pretty presumptuous to believe that the reasons and the problems that we have in this town are based upon lead poisoning. Did you guys read this, or was I the only guy who saw this? Because to me, that's a very presumptuous paragraph. Pull it out if you have it. Read the last paragraph there. It was highlighted for me. Whoever sent it home for my kid because he's going to kindergarten, I read that. I have a basis and a background in science. That's really not scientific at all. To think that the town and the problems that we have our town, these various socioeconomic problems, are based upon kids being lead poisoned. Not to mention the people, the adults who are acting in these manners, who even said they lived here when they were kids. They might have come from somewhere else. So lead testing in Claremont would not have changed that. So even though I think what you guys are doing is very good, I think the message that you sent out in that letter was very poorly written. And I would suggest that you change that, because the cause and the effect are very different. A kid who has lead poisoning obviously has cognitive issues and many other things. But to say that the person who is using drugs at 20 years old is doing it because they had lead poisoning, that doesn't add up. So I would just suggest to you, the school board, because I know you're all intelligent people, read that and consider, is that really the message that we wanted to send to the people of this town? Because it's a flawed message. That's for the school board. That's all I have. I think what you're doing is great. I really do. And honestly, based upon attendance, I think I get a better idea as to who really feels that these meetings are important and who aren't. Now I'm going to speak to the city council because I have a problem here. You hired this fellow over here. This is Mr. McNutt, I assume? Welcome to our town. I assume since you voted him in and you thought hiring was a good idea, you thought that he was really good at his job. So he made this recommendation to you on this paper for the budget, and you decided not to follow it. Everybody here probably goes to a doctor now and again, I would assume. And when you go to your doctor, I'm hoping that most of you listen to what he says. And if he says, you have high blood pressure, you should probably take some blood pressure pills. The reason you listen to him is because he's done his job really well for a long time, or her job for that matter. And you listen to him because they know what they're doing. But instead, what you did was you changed his ideas, you increased our tax rate, and the best part about it is, you put all the tough decisions on the school board. You conveniently threw all of the crappy decisions on our school board. And I think personally, those of you who voted for that, you should be ashamed of yourselves. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Since you have to sit amongst each other, and if any of you voted for that, just look at the school board members and understand that they're the ones who have to clean up for your crappy decision. Sorry for the use of crappy, but I think it fit in this scenario. That's all. I'm done.
Thank you.
Anybody else for citizens' comments? Bernie, you ready?
We can wait till the end and then.
We don't always engage, we can make comments or we can just.
I'd like to make one.
Okay. Mr. Folta, Ward 3?
Thank you. Bernie Folta, Ward 3. I just walked in and I actually wasn't going to say anything on Citizens Forum. I thought it would probably be over, but hearing Mr. Benware's comments, I can't help but respond to noting one of the characteristics of Claremont, and that is what recently happened at the City Council with respect to the budget and with respect to one particular item in the budget, namely the library appropriation. And that is, in Claremont, if you can get a group of people to pile into a meeting, it doesn't matter if it's a school board meeting or a city council meeting, you can usually trigger some action because the elected representatives don't want to be unloved by the people who elected them. So, and I've seen this work many times, especially at the city council level. If you want to change something in Claremont, get a group of people in, pile into a city council meeting, pile into a school board meeting, and your chances are pretty good. I collect political humor, and there's one that I like, and it goes, in a democracy is run by those who show up. Thank you. End of editorial comment.
Anybody else for citizens' comments? You have responses?
Do you want to address the school board policy at all, or?
Nope.
Okay. I do want to offer, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Yes, I'm sorry.
Jason.
I know you by sight, but I'd like to offer you this. If you have a science background, I think you'd appreciate it. It may help you understand.
I have a firm understanding. I just have a problem with the way that particular thing was worded.
I don't think anybody meant to imply that some of the issues that you see in adulthood are definitely caused by this. We can't know. I
Is that
mean,
it? This is, it has a lot of information. Was that the same one that was sent home with you? Can I read it to you? It's right here. Here's the article.
You'd have to go-
I'll
you'd have
walk
to
right
go
up there and
back.
I'll read it to you.
That's up to Brian, isn't it?
yeah.
Thanks. Jason Benwer, back again. After the large heading in bold that says lead testing required for children entering pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. The high levels of special education, crime, and mental health, it should be mental health issues, in Claremont suggests there has not been enough lead screening assessments of children at an early age. Do you see am I the only one who senses the message that's sent there is very, yes, there needs to be more screening, but maybe special education could be an issue, but crime and mental health problems, there are so many more causes of crime and mental health problems to suggest that lead testing assessments would have changed much of that is, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's what I took issue with.
Okay.
Thank you. Rebecca.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Jason Benwer.
Jason, I
wrote it
just
down.
wanted to tell you thank you for coming in, and we may not always want to hear things like that or suggestions like that, but I do appreciate you taking the time to come in and express your concerns over that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.